Hey guys, I'm Jordy, and this is your boss guide for the giant stone guardian, Kologarn.
None shall pass.
Now, Kologarn is the gatekeeper. Bridge keeper? I mean, he is the bridge to the rest of the instance and is required before tackling the keepers of Yogg-Saron. As you enter the room, you're greeted with his upper half, which will remain there until you engage him. Kologarn is a one-phase encounter with 3 separate enemies making up his body: his right arm, left arm, and torso. It's a bit confusing because as you face him, his right arm is on your left, but I'll be referring to each enemy as it is named and not its position to you. Okay, so as far as raid composition goes, you'll want 2 tanks, 4 to 5 healers, and as usual, a good mix of ranged and melee DPS. Nothing too fancy here. One thing to note is that if there is no one in melee range of Kologarn, he'll cast Petrifying Breath, which is almost always a raid wipe, so make sure you've got a tank on him at all times. Alright, let's go over his different abilities. First, Kologarn himself will occasionally cast Overhead Smash. This is an instant attack that applies crunch armor to his current target, which decreases armor by 25% for 45 seconds. It stacks, and it also interrupts anyone in melee range, so casters stay out. He also casts Focus Eye Beam. 2 beams shoot out of his eyes and deal a bunch of nature damage to anyone hit by them. Just avoid them, pretty easy. Now the 2 arms each have abilities. First, the right arm. It will occasionally cast Stone Grip, which grabs 3 people and stuns them, dealing about 5,000 damage per second until they die, or the arm has died, or it takes 450,000 damage. If after 15 seconds the gripped people aren't free, they will instantly die. Now the other arm, the left arm, does Shockwave. Every so often, like 30 seconds to a minute, it will do this and deal between 12 and 13,000 damage to everyone in the raid. Just heal through it, not too terrible. Okay, so really, that's all of the mechanics. There are little things we'll go over in a second, but that's it, pretty easy. Alright, as you enter the room, your tanks should run up and grab him. Your DPS should begin blasting the right arm, the one on the left, as their primary target. Cleaving is fine here. His hitbox is super wonky, so it might be difficult, but do what you can. Each arm has around 2.3 million HP, so it should die pretty quickly. Avoid the eye beams, keep the gripped people up, easy peasy. When the right arm dies, it will inflict its total HP in damage to Kologarn's torso. So damage on this fight is almost always helpful, regardless of which arm is hit. However, it is only inflicted on him when the arm itself dies, which will be helpful in a second. Okay, so his right arm is dead. As it dies, a bunch of little earth elementals called rubble will spawn from the arm's corpse. Whatever tank isn't tanking, just grab these and your DPS should cleave them to death. But be careful, they cast Stone Nova, which does damage around them. Alright, beat up his torso some until the right arm respawns. Yay! Back to damage on the right arm. Heal through his grips, avoid eye beams, blast him. As the right arm dies a second time, Kologarn should be around 30%. So this is your opportunity to start damaging his left arm now and finishing it off. It should be about sub 50% by now from cleave alone, so do it until it's dead. Just confirm that Kologarn himself is sitting around 2.3 million HP remaining before you finish off the left arm. If he has no arms, he'll cast his raid wipe mechanic until an arm respawns, so avoid that and make sure killing his left arm will kill the boss outright. And that's it for Kologarn. Not too bad. Okay, some tank tips. Watch for your other tanks' debuffs. If they get 2 stacks of crunch armor, taunt off of them. And if you're not tanking Kologarn, grab the rubble and do your best to keep them away from your ranged. And some healer tips. Stone Grip, the thing the right arm does, picks 3 people at random to stun, and if it unluckily picks 3 healers, you guys should call it out so that the remaining healers know to pop everything they've got to keep everyone up. Otherwise, anticipate the shockwave damage. It hits the raid pretty hard, so a desac rotation or some choice powered shields will go a long way. In DPS tips, try to find the sweet spot for cleaving. It's a pain in the ass on the fight to trap weave and cleave, but there are small spots where they do work. Hunters use the rubble when they spawn to splash the explosive trap onto the boss. And that's it for Kologarn. This is one of the easier fights in here, albeit very fun. After this, you run across what remains of his body into the main chamber of Ulduar and face down Oriaya and her Panther Guardians. If you enjoyed this guide, do me a favor and like and subscribe. It helps me a ton in making these videos and grow the channel. Thank you so much. Alright, that's it for me. See you in Ulduar.